Hi, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March break virtual tour. My name is Fahda, and I am the Student Recruitment and Admissions Representative here at the University of Toronto Mississauga campus. Today, I have some of my awesome colleagues joining me, and in a few minutes, I will get them to introduce themselves individually. But before I do that, I wanted to take the time to thank each and every one of you for joining us today, not only because we have this opportunity to explore our campus together, but also it's very rare that we get these events where we can interact with one another live. So thank you again for joining us. I'll start off with Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hey.
Are you able to introduce yourself?
Yes. So my name is Jen. I'm the Occupancy and Admissions Coordinator here in UTM Residence. And so that will be my focus for all of you today, is just really get you interested in residence and to answer any of your questions that you could possibly have about all things related to residence.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. And Alicia, are you able to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia. I am a recruitment officer for the Recruitment and Admissions Office here at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. I'm also a recent graduate. For today's presentation, I am going to be one of the chat support people. I'm also going to be joined behind the scenes with my colleague, Louis. So throughout the presentation, as Fada, Jen, and Emily share a little bit more insight about their experiences at UTM. If you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to leave it in the chat, and either one of us will be able to answer you. At the end of the presentation, they're also going to bring me up live so that I can be able to ask any of your questions live for one of them to help answer as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alicia. And then finally, Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily, and I am a student ambassador in community engagement for the Office of Student Recruitment and Admissions at UTM. And I'm going to share with you what my most frequented spots are on campus through a campus tour today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Emily. And we would also love to know where you are all joining us from as well. We would love to get to know you. So when you get the chance, leave in the comment section. I see some of you are already doing that with your location. It will give you an opportunity to get to know your fellow attendees as well. With that being said, the agenda today will start off with Emily, our student ambassador. She will give you a personalized tour, as she mentioned, of all of her favorite places where she likes to visit on campus. And then we'll give the floor to Jen, our residence representative, who will give you an overview of what residence life looks like here at UTM, as well as what the application process looks like. And then finally, we will all get back together and give the floor to Alicia, who is going to be our chat moderator for the day and will be giving us questions to answer live. This means that the questions that you input in the comment section may possibly get answered live. So please take the time to leave us any questions that you can. We want you to be as much as possible part of this conversation, and you can have the possibility, to direct where this discussion goes today. So take advantage of that opportunity. With that being said, I'll say goodbye to my colleagues. And I'll start off with a land acknowledgement. Land acknowledgements are really important because it's a way for us, to really recognize the rights of Indigenous people and the rights to their land. I'll start off with the University of Toronto land acknowledgement here at UTM. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. I will now bring my colleague, Emily, on stage. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you for asking. Are you ready to start your tour?
Yes.
We're really excited.
Thank you for the introduction, Fada.
No problem.
So today I am going to be doing a tour of the places that I spend the most time in on campus as a biology for health sciences and chemistry double major with a minor in psychology. So you will see that I am focused mostly on a couple of buildings, and you'll learn more about that later. I am going to show you about different experiences that I have had through being a student ambassador, volunteering, and acting on the dance team. So with that, we will start in my hometown of Woodstock, Ontario. So you can see that I am a dancer here, getting pictures on a tractor because my town is very agricultural. And I am choosing to live in Woodstock, Ontario this year because it's just a little bit more economical since most of my classes are happening virtually. But I do get the opportunity to go to campus once every 3 weeks or so to attend a lab in person, and that takes about a 1.5 hour drive. When I get to campus, I am parking and paying the daily rate, but if you plan on driving to campus, you can get a parking pass to reduce your costs. And the parking that I use the most often is located just outside of the Recreation, Athletics, and Wellness Center, also known as the gym, which we will visit now. So this is where we have a lot of our fitness programming at UTM. So we have our varsity and intramural sports, there's a swimming pool, there's lots of different fitness classes, as well as a dance studio. So you get a free gym membership as part of your student fees at UTM. And me, along with other members of the dance team, would often come to the gym before practice to use the different equipment that's available. We, as a dance team, are meeting virtually right now on Zoom, which is kind of fun because we can run little events like bring your pet to dance night, which would never have been possible in the Rock, of course. And on Zoom, we're doing different workouts together as well as running dance combinations. Normally, we would have been rehearsing in the dance studio of the Rock a couple of nights a week, and we would have actually had competitions every weekend in March. So it would have been pretty busy right now. But as a dance team, we have done things like performing at the halftime of homecoming games. And it's also really fun to just go and watch sports games on campus. It's a great way to de-stress with friends, and I highly recommend it. Now we'll visit the Davis building. So this is the building that I spend a lot of my time in on campus, and you'll notice that there's a lot of stops in this building. First off, we have the science wing, which has the updated biology and chemistry labs. So that's a really good reason why I spend a lot of time here. Labs are really fun, in my opinion, because they're small groups and you get to actually take what you're learning in the classroom and learn hands-on. I am currently taking a biochemistry lab course, and that's where I get to sometimes go in person and actually do the experiments myself. Last semester, labs were all virtual, but it was also really interesting because we were learning about how you would make models online to figure out how to make a drug for COVID-19. And that's definitely not something I expected to do. And it was not super easy, but we were given the tools and it was a very fun learning experience. And we also have our professors' offices in the Davis building. So this is where you can go to have office hours and answer questions that you're not understanding in lecture. Right now I'm doing this on Zoom, but I have weekly meetings with my professor for research and development and science education. So this is a small independent research course, and it's really interesting. We get to make problem-based learning for high school chemistry students. So you can see here a problem that I have created, and it's all about what makes cookies rise. A hint would have to be that it has to do with acids and bases. And the problems we create are then uploaded on a database that teachers can download from and actually incorporate into their classrooms. Who knew there would be courses available like this during your undergraduate degree? I certainly did not. And then we will have the food court. You can catch me here with a donut and a hot chocolate often before I go to my lab or after. There's lots of different food options available though. And then we have the International Education Center. So I volunteer with them to mentor incoming first year international students. So this mentorship program is really flexible and it gives a great way for first year students to ask questions that they might have about the university to upper year students and get those answers that can sometimes be hard to find. There's lots of different mentorships available through different departments on campus, and it's definitely something I wish I had when I started at UTM. But the International Education Center also has lots of other things like help for immigration support. They have lots of events for intercultural development, as well as information if you are interested in going abroad or doing an exchange. So it's definitely got help both for domestic and international students. And then we have the Health and Counseling Center. So this is something I didn't find out about until my second year at UTM, but it's really helpful. So if you're like me and you're not in the city where your family doctor is located, it can be really nice to know that you have a place that you can go if you're domestic or international on campus to get help with any of your healthcare needs. There is physicians, nurses, counselors, and dietitians, and it just makes it so you don't have to go through the hassle of trying to find a local community medical clinic. And it's really convenient, and the staff there are very helpful. And now we will visit the CCT building. So I don't have very many classes in CCT, but I do walk through this building all the time. And often I will see events set up. For example, I remember seeing the International Education Fair every year. And with these events, if you interact with the different booths, you can often get prizes or treats, as well as just learn new information, which is really cool. And now we can see the Hazel McCallion Academic Learning Center. So this is the other place that I spend a lot of my time when I'm on campus. One of my favorite spots on campus is in the basement of the library, and I love hanging out with my friends there. You can talk on that floor, which is really nice, but they also have open tables like you can see here, so you can really like spread out and get comfortable. If you're like me, I always have like a whole bunch of books open. But it's a really good way to be able to like talk and study with your friends. If I really need to focus, I will go up to the upper levels of the library where we have silent study cubicles, and that's really handy right before a test or if I'm trying to get some reading done. And then we also have study rooms where you can book the room so you can meet with other people in your classes, and they have whiteboards and TVs in them so that you can all visualize what you're working on together, which is really handy. The basement is definitely my favorite spot though. Sorry about that. And then we also have liaison librarians at UTM. So these are really interesting and really helpful. So they specialize in different departments available at UTM. So for example, there's a science liaison librarian who will come in and help specifically with your science like biology, chemistry, physics classes so that you learn the research skills that are applicable directly to that field. and you'll learn about those citation styles, and you could even get help finding sources for any of your lab reports or papers. But we have different liaison librarians for all the different departmental areas at UTM, and it's really convenient. And then the UTM library network is connected to the entire U of T library system. And now this is great because that means you can get access to almost any source for free. Now that might sound silly now, but I have friends that are going to different schools who are jealous at just how much I have access to for free. So it is something that's really useful when you're studying at UTM. And now we will visit the instructional center. So the Instructional Center, or IB, houses a lot of different lecture halls. I remember my first year biology and chemistry lectures were in this lecture hall pictured here. They are large and can fit 500 people, but as you go up into your upper years, the lecture halls get smaller. The desks are still in this U shape, which is really convenient to be able to talk to your professors and other students in the class and interact with them. And then there's also the shuttle bus located right outside IB. So this is free for UTM students only, and it gets you to downtown Toronto to the St. George campus. And that's really convenient if you're like some of my friends and you want to take classes at the downtown campus. If you're like me, however, you'll use this for a different reason, and you will want to try new restaurants in downtown Toronto or go visit the Royal Ontario Museum. It's a really large, wonderful museum. And I also have used it so I can walk to Union Station and then catch the train and go visit friends in other cities. It's a really useful tool that can get you to downtown Toronto pretty quickly. And then we have more food. So I had never tried sushi when I started at UTM. And just off to the side on the screen, there is a bento. And that's where I tried sushi for the first time. And I loved it. So then I continued trying new foods at UTM. It's really great that there are so many food options available. Now we'll visit our newest building, MN. So I didn't have very many classes here before COVID-19, but I would often come to heat up my lunch in the microwaves and then eat in this beautiful building. So I find it more affordable just to bring my own food and then heat it up in the microwaves. But you can do whatever interests you, of course. I've used the microwaves in almost every building on campus though, and they are really conveniently located. And now we'll head to the connecting building, which is Deerfield. So this is where I go a lot for psychology related items on my degree. So for example, I have gone and done my psychology labs in first year here. It was definitely an eye-opening experience walking into a room filled with just all Apple computers. It was something I had never seen before. Another thing I like to do though is sign up to be a participant in researcher studies that are going on. And that usually happens in this building. And the gathering of data is often done by undergraduate students that are doing research opportunity positions or working in those labs. So through these ROPs, students can often get papers published or they just kind of get more hands-on experience in research. But we have ROPs in all different departmental areas throughout UTM. I just find it interesting if you go as a participant to see all the different types of research that are happening. There is a lot of stuff going on our campus, and you can even get a little bit of money for participating and taking like 30 minutes out of your day to sign up and do it. And then we also have my favorite food spot. So the Northside Bistro has the most amazing pizza and salads, and they're even customizable. If you have any dietary restrictions, they can accommodate that really easily. Now we'll visit the Student Center. So the Student Center houses the UTM Student Union, or the UTMSU. So the UTMSU is really working for the benefit of the students, and they do this through a lot of different ways. One of those is through organizing all the different academic societies and a lot of clubs on campus. And if there's a club that you feel like you want to invent, you can really do that with the help of the Student Center. They also run lots of different programs and events. For example, one that I've been to is Free Breakfast Wednesdays. So you can go and get some free breakfast, and it changes up all the time. So one week it could be pancakes, and the next week it's all different types of cereal, which is really a great way to start your day. And then they have a spot I come every week before dance with my friends, the Blind Duck Pub. So they have some amazing food. One of my favorites is the poutine, which is a Canadian staple with fries, gravy, and cheese. And it's really, really good. We also have our My Way bus system located just not too far from the Student Center. And this is how you can commute on the bus system using the bus pass that's provided from the student union. So I used this a lot in my second and third years because I was living in off-campus housing and I didn't have a vehicle, so I would commute to campus using the buses, and I would have to take a transfer and use 2 buses to get there. And then this is located just outside of the Knapp Center. So this is the Knapp Center that also has the Innovation Complex, and this is a really helpful place because it has the Office of the Registrar. So once you're admitted as a student at UTM, this is where you can go to get answers to a lot of the questions you might have. You can get help with financial planning and academic advising. I've spoken with academic advisors to ensure I could fit my double major as well as my minor without having to take any summer courses or add any extra time at the end of my degree. Lots of people take summer classes and they really enjoy them, but for me, I just know that I really need to work in the summers, so it's really helpful if I don't have to take class then. Speaking of working, I also do my work-study position with student recruitment and admissions as a student ambassador in this building. So work-study positions are really amazing opportunities because you get your chance to build skills that will be really helpful after you graduate, but they are also understanding that you are a student at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, and that you have lots of commitments, and they're able to be flexible around your schedule. So it is a really great way to learn and develop those skills while also being a student and earn a little bit of extra money. There's also work-study positions in all sorts of different departments at UTM and even in some professors' labs. So don't be shy and apply if you're interested in them. And now we'll head to the last stop on this tour, which will be residence. So I just want to remind you quickly that there will be a more in-depth presentation about residence right after I'm done with this one. But I did live in residence in my first year, and I got, in my opinion, lucky, and I got the McGrath townhouse style residence. You can see it pictured here, along with me and my roommate actually are the ones that are walking down this pathway. Now, McGrath residents allow you to have, there's 2 bedrooms, and there is a bathroom, a kitchen, and a really large living space. So it's kind of a really nice residence setup, and for my opinion, like I enjoyed it a lot. I met some of my first friends on residence that I still speak to this day and probably will for years to come. And when we got bored, we would do some silly things like try to make food, meals we had never made before. Pictured here is me after a long day, and we had made some shepherd's pie. And it was a really fun experience that I'm glad I had in my first year. So this is the end of my tour, and I hope you got to learn more about where I spend my time on campus as a biology and chemistry student. I'm now going to call back Jen so she can give a lot more information about residence.
Thanks, Emily. So I loved hearing about all of your campus experiences and the lovely things you said about residence. So thank you so much. Speaking of which, I'm going to get started by talking about residence and what your first year experience in residence will look like. And we'll start by talking about why you might want to choose residence. So according to an academic study, it's actually shown that there's a greater retention to second year and graduation, meaning those who choose to live in residence are statistically more likely to stay in the university longer. Additionally, this year, there's easier synchronous learning because you're in the same time zone. If you did have classes online, you were in the same time zone as where your classes were being held. You also have access to in-person communities and programming, which makes it easier to make friends and have in-person connections. You have the opportunity to experience more independent living with your peers, with access to many residence services, including maintenance, our front desk staff, and we have 24/7, 365 support from student and professional staff. The application is also very easy. It's like on one website, and I will go through what that looks like. And lastly, you get to experience some of our wonderful programming that we do in residence, which is where I'm actually going to focus next. So starting off with Residence Council. Residence Council is a student-led organization that represents student needs and interests in residence. They've had some fun events, especially this year, from like a Movember contest to Candygrams to bingo nights. We also have a large orientation and Frost Week program in residence, which consists of the Get Experience in Residence Fair, coffee houses, Res 101, Can I Kiss You, a bunch of different events that we have for you through orientation. So that's your first week on campus, but also Frost Week, which is your first week back after the winter break, so in January. Additionally, we have a few LLCs, so living learning communities in residence for students in specific programs where you can choose to live with people who are doing the same program as you. So we have LLCs for the CCAT program, the computer science program. Foundations is foundations of research. So if you are interested in doing any sort of research in your university career, foundations research might be a good option for you to join. LEAF is the Leaders of an Environmentally Aware Future. So if you are sustainable or really conscious about sustainability and care about the environment, that might be a good LLC for you. And then the Life Science program, we also have an LLC dedicated to that program. We also have our wonderful student staff who are always available for support. So our Dons, who are basically like your first friend in residence, are there for community building and support and creating like connections with you and other students. Our PALs, or our peer academic leaders, are your academic support in residence and help facilitate the transition academically from high school to university. And lastly, our RSAs, or our resident services assistants, who work at our resident services desk for the RSD, are a lot of your administrative support in residence. And so they're there for any like administrative support you need. It could be processing parcels, or you have any specific questions, or you want the time of the shuttle bus or anything like that. They're happy to answer and help you out with anything you need. And then we also have some really great programming and events that we host specifically in residence. So we have the Artistic Resource Team and the Equity Outreach Network. We have choir, which is for anyone who's really interested in maybe singing. The Home Notes is a wonderful group who perform on campus and in our Mississauga community. We have the Sustainability Committee for those, again, who are care about the environment. And then Coleman Cup, which I wanted to highlight because we did see a lot of questions specifically related to sports from the chat. And so Coleman Cup is actually something that we run every Sunday. And it's like a little competition between communities in residence, sometimes sports themed. So we do like soccer and volleyball and a bunch of other different games. And like it's a big competition, and there's like a Coleman Cup at the end. It's like a big trophy. So we do run that every Sunday. But I also wanted to highlight that we do have a story, Isabella's story, which is a residence video that my colleague Jess is actually going to post the YouTube link in the chat. And I encourage you to check it out because she does talk about like her experience about the resident services and support that we provide in residence, even through the pandemic. So she'll post that in the chat for you to check out. The next thing I wanted to chat about is some of the things that we did in residence this year to support our students as we were going through the pandemic. So obviously this is specifically for this year, and that we will continue to go with whatever public health suggests and recommends. But this year we did have increased rigorous cleaning schedules. So we had 7 days a week. Our caretakers were going around residence, especially cleaning all of the common spaces where students were maybe like touching things a little bit more, like in our lobbies and things like that. We do provide single rooms for all students. And in the upcoming year, we're also going to provide single rooms for all students. We do have hand sanitizing stations in all public indoor spaces. We provided masks for every student in residence. So there were Sherrill Student Housing Residence Life branded masks. And the University of Toronto also gave out branded masks as well, and they were U of T branded. We do have plexiglass barriers for our student services. So that'd be our front desk. So if you walk in through our front desk, you can see it's there's a plexiglass barrier protecting them and the students. We have a self-reporting web form as well. So if you were experiencing symptoms in residence and you did want assistance from a residence life staff member, you could fill out that web form, and a residence life staff member would be in touch with you to help you support you through what that looked like. And then lastly, some of the other things that we did was health screening upon entry. So all students, whether they were moving in, did have to go through a health screening process for the safety of us and for the safety of our students. The next few things I'm just going to run through is our 5 different residence styles that we have for our students this year. The first 2 are suite styles. So there's suite style single, which is Roy Ivor, and suite style super single, which is at Narrandale Hall. In Roy Ivor, you'll notice it's 4 bedrooms with 2 bathrooms, and every single room is a single room. It's more like an apartment style building. The super single, you'll notice that there's 2 beds, or it's very similar to Roy Ivor, but instead there are 2 beds in every bedroom. For the upcoming year, we will only be placing 1 student in each of those rooms. You'll just have the double room like furniture that exists in there, but you will still be only 1 person in each bedroom. And that's why it's called super single. The next style we have is traditional single. So that is our Oscar Peterson Hall residence area. And in there you have 2 bedrooms with a bathroom in between. So there is no kitchen. There is one on the on a floor in the building, but there's not one that's specifically just for you in Oscar Peterson Hall. But you do only share that bathroom with that 1 other person. And then McGrath, this is the style that Emily had. This is our premium townhouse, and they're single and super single. So all that means is that, as she mentioned, there's 2 bedrooms with a bathroom and then like a large kitchen and living space. And again, just a reminder, in that super single, there are 2 beds, but you do only have 1 person who will be in that bedroom. So that's why that's a super single. The next thing I just want to touch on is our application timelines. So how to apply and what those timelines look like. So first, the residence application is live and it's open on residence.utoronto.ca. The first deadline that I do want to highlight is our March 31st deadline. So there's 3 things that you need to do to make sure that you meet the residence guarantee. The first thing is that you need to complete step 1 or the residence guarantee application by March 31st. And I will share what those look like. But this deadline is basically just indicating interest in residence. And even if you're unsure about whether or not you want to live in residence, I highly encourage you do this step before March 31st, because if you miss it and you decide later that you want to be in residence, your guarantee will not exist anymore. We do have a video about how to complete step 1 and what that entire process looks like. And Jess is also going to post that in the chat for you so you can check it out. The next thing that you need to do in order to maintain your residence guarantee is accept your university offer. So you need to accept your University of Toronto offer by June 1st to ensure that your residence guarantee is met. And then the last thing that you need to do, again, to maintain that residence guarantee is complete step 2 of the residence application. It's called the UTM Undergrad Academic Year 2021 to 2022. And that's due by June 10th. Now, that application has a non-refundable application fee. It also is where you can indicate what area of housing you want to live in, if you want same or mixed gender housing, if you have an accommodation request that you need. It's the more thorough application that we ask, like your personal information and stuff like that. We also have a video about how to complete step 2, and that will also be posted in the chat by Jess. You can check out and follow along and see exactly what the application looks like. It'll run through step by step of everything you need to do. Some other dates I just want to highlight is that on June 16th, that is when we send out confirmations. So whether you find out if you have a space in residence or you're on the wait list, you will receive that on June 16th. If you do receive an offer on July 2nd, we do ask you to accept your offer by July 2nd. And there is a $1,650 acceptance deposit that's required with that acceptance. And then if you accept your offer from July 21st to July 23rd, we will be sending room and roommate information out. So this is what step 1 looks like. So I do want to highlight that when you log into STARS or residence.utoronto.ca, when you click apply to residence, it's really important that we look at the apply to residence button. This is what you'll see, and that's step 1, the residence guarantee 21 to 22. If you have completed step 1, accepted your offer, and are ready to complete step 2, it will appear on your STARS under My Applications. So I do want to really highlight that distinction, that step 1 was under Apply to Residence and step 2 is under My Applications. And you'll notice the applications are even titled something different. So step 2 is that UTM Undergrad Academic Year 21 to 22. Lastly, a few things I just want to highlight is some of our residence fees. So you can see the chart that's listed there with all the different fees for a room in residence. Something I do want to highlight is that all of these fees are actually less $2,000. And you might be wondering where that $2,000 comes from. So when you apply to residence, you pay a $350 application fee. And when you accept residence, you pay a $1,650 acceptance deposit. That totals $2,000. So you'll have paid that before you even arrive to residence. So for example, if I was living in Oscar Peterson Hall, I got Oscar Peterson Hall as my placement, I'll have already paid $2,000. So when I come to residence, the remaining balance that I'll owe is $9,372, with the total that I'll have paid to residence being $11,372. The last thing I wanted to highlight is that, just a reminder, this does not include meal plans. So all of these fees don't include your meal plan fees, and a meal plan is required for all students who choose to live in residence. So I just wanted to leave this up here for if you do have any questions specifically for us, you can reach out to us. So again, that application is on residence.utoronto.ca. If you do want to contact us for like more specific to your application or any specific questions you have, you can email us at resdesk.utm@utoronto.ca. You can phone us at 905-828-5286. Or if you check out our website, we do have live chat representatives who are happy to chat with you about anything that you need. And please check us out on our social media on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. We have lots of content there and would love to see you checking out some of that stuff with us. The last thing I did want to remind you is that we do have a virtual showcase on March 20th from 2 to 3 p.m. So if we don't answer all of your questions here today, or you do want more in-depth knowledge about residents, please check us out on that date and time. But I'm going to bring Fada back now to the stage to continue.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, thank you so much, Jen, for your awesome presentation on residence life. Honestly, as I told yesterday's event, students who joined us for yesterday, one of the things I do regret during my time at U of T that I didn't do was live on campus. Honestly, it's very rare that you will get this opportunity where you can just focus on your education. Some of us might have younger siblings at home, that might distract us from studying. And this is an opportunity for you to completely immerse yourself on campus life. So go ahead and do it. As that famous Mark Twain quote goes, 20 years from now, you will regret the things that you didn't do you'll be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do rather than what you did do. So if you're just on the edge and you're debating about whether or not I should go for residence life, I would definitely say go for it. And now we're moving on to our question and answer period. I will try to bring my colleagues, Emily and Alicia, online. Hi, Emily and Alicia.
Hi, everyone. So we've been getting a lot of questions in the chat, and I would love to just jump into it right away. And I'm going to be dividing up the questions between all three of you. So the first one I actually have is for Emily. So a lot of students are a little bit unsure of how do they actually go about choosing their specialization. So when they do apply to the university, they're applying under an admission category. And at the end of first year, that's when they actually choose their specialization. How did you go about figuring out what was the right step for you? And if you switched between the ways, did you switch any programs along the way? Can you explain that?
Yes, so I actually applied to life sciences admissions category when I applied to UTM and was accepted to that category. So then that got me onto the path to start taking classes in biology, chemistry, as well as you still can take elective classes in other fields if you want to explore other areas. So I took some sociology and like women's and gender studies courses. From the courses that I took in first year, that's when I figured out like what is most interesting to me, what's going to get me to where I want to go. So that's when I got interested in the biology for health sciences and chemistry double major. I applied to both of those posts at the end of my first year. So the posts are which specialist major or minor you are going to be studying for the rest of your time. And then in my third year is when I actually decided to add on my minor in psychology. And that's just because I had taken a couple extra psychology courses. I found them super interesting, and I figured out that I could fit that minor in to my degree. So I used all my elective courses for that. So really, you can just kind of learn from your first year courses and see what interests you the most before you apply to your majors.
Thank you. That's going to be very, very helpful. So basically, you have the ability to switch programs along the way, and you can also take courses along different areas of study. So don't feel like you're fit into one single box. Moving on over to Jen, we have a lot of questions related to residence. And can you explain how far the distance is between the residence and the other buildings on campus? Would someone actually have to drive, or is it just walking distance?
Yeah, so all residence buildings are situated straight on campus, so you don't have to worry about a really long walk or having to drive to campus at all. They're right on campus. It really depends on the building that you're going to and the residence that you are, because residence is kind of around campus. However, I will say the farthest that you'd have to walk from like the farthest residence building to the farthest building on campus is max 10 minutes. So no matter where you are on campus, you are close to buildings. And some of our buildings are even right beside residence areas. So Arundel Hall is directly beside Deerfield Hall and the MN building. And McGrath Valley, which is the style of residence that Emily was talking about, is actually right beside Davis. So we do have options that are all close to some of our first year buildings, and they're right on campus, so you never have to worry about. You can get up 5 minutes before class and just make it there on time.
Perfect. Now moving over to you, Fada. So for students who haven't heard an offer of admission from us yet, can they expect to hear something from us in the future?
Yes, definitely. If you haven't heard from us right now, please do not worry. We actually haven't given out most of our offers yet. You have until the end of May possibly to hear from us. So do not worry. If you're worried about like outstanding documents with your application, feel free to reach out to us. We do have admission representatives available Monday to Friday to answer your questions. We will be happy to go into your application and let you know what your status of your application currently is. But it's definitely normal and fine for you to not hear from us right now, and expect to hear from us soon, definitely before the end of May.
Perfect. Thank you. So if you haven't heard from us yet, just take a breather. No problem. We'll get back to you shortly. So Emily, a lot of students actually find that financing is a huge contributing factor when deciding which university to go to, let alone pursue post-secondary education. And one of those ways that UTM actually helps to alleviate costs is by offering the work-study program. Do you mind explaining what that is and actually about your position right now?
Yes, so the work-study program is paid positions that are offered on campus, and they are offered during your studying hours. They're throughout all different areas at UTM, and you can find out about all of these opportunities through a Career Learning Network website that we have once you're admitted as a student. So you do get paid for the work that you are doing, but it's also flexible around your other commitments as a student. And there's also other paid positions that are posted on that website that aren't necessarily work study positions. So there are lots of different ways to get help to finance your education through work study positions, for example.
And the work study position does offer really great experience, especially for folks who really want to build up their resume, really gain that skill set, and really take it into the job market right after graduation. But for folks who are also looking to expand their learning in terms of experiential learning, do you mind explaining what are the different ways they can actually do that within science itself? So any courses or opportunities you can think of?
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of different ways depending on what kind of path you feel like pursuing. One of those big ones would definitely be research opportunity program spots. You can start applying to those as early as your second year, and you kind of get to work under a professor in their field, and you get to start working on research. But I know that we also have different internship courses or courses like the one that I'm taking that is an independent research project where you're still doing research, but it's more in an educational focus. Or you can go and do like thesis courses in your fourth year where you're working on writing papers yourself. And that's kind of in all the different sciences. Courses like that are definitely available.
There's definitely opportunities for students to really excel within the class, as you had mentioned. And I just want to put a forefront out there that experiential learning opportunities are not just limited to people who are pursuing science. So if you're doing humanities, social science, you do have the opportunity to pursue research, do internships, whether it's affiliated within the program or outside of the program. But those opportunities are available to all students. Now, we're also getting a lot of questions related to student life. And so while I still have you here, Emily, you mentioned that you were really involved with the dance club. And so can you talk a little bit about how you actually did the balance between the student life activities and your academic course load? And what was it like getting involved?
Yeah, so I was a dancer before I started at UTM, so I knew I was really hoping there would be something like that available. So I looked to see if there was a team, and there was, which was great. And it's actually kind of almost a way to help you get used to university life, because you're now able to interact with students who are in their upper years and have already been through the transition. So joining the dance team in my first year made it so that I had all of these people that I could speak to when I was like, is it normally a whole bunch of tests in the same week? Like, how do you study and get through that? I was able to talk to people who have done it and are interested in the same kind of activities as I am. But there's also all sorts of other activities, because I know competitive dance is definitely not for everybody. But finding those things you're interested in can help make your academic experience better, even though it takes a little bit of time away from doing academic work.
Definitely. We have over 150 student clubs on campus that range from religious to cultural and special interests. There's even a club for people who love eating lettuce. So when I kid you not, when I say there's a spot for everybody, and if your club isn't there, who cares? Create one. You know, I did that when I was a student at UTM, and this is a great way for you to really build that community foundation. Now, moving over to you, Fada. How flexible can your schedule be, and how do students go about creating one? Is it looking like how it does in high school, where you all start at 8 a.m. and finish at 4 p.m.? What does it really mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually completely different from high school. So with the University of Toronto degree, you have the flexibility to create your own schedule. You're an adult. If you want to fast track and complete it within 3.5 to 4 years, you can definitely go ahead and do that. If you want to take your time because you're working full time or part time, you can definitely do that. So you can go as fast or as slow as you want to complete a University of Toronto degree. So the good news is that there is no time limit to complete your degree. It's completely up to you. I do recommend getting in touch with an academic advisor if you're worried about your course load, or if you want someone to guide you through that. There are free resources available to U of T students. Academic advisors are here to guide you through your course selection. Definitely. So it's completely different from high school. There is no time limit. It's up to you what you feel comfortable with. We want you to be as successful as possible while you are on campus. So take that time to really think about the type of courses you want, what your program requirements are, what your degree requirements are, and move at your own pace.
Yeah, I think what's one of the coolest things is that I'm a super morning bird. And so I chose all my classes to be like 8 a.m., 9 a.m., whereas my best friend, she was like, you cannot catch me like alive before 12. Like, I am going to be sleeping. And so she chose all her classes at 4 p.m. So it's really cool to see the difference in schedules between different folks. Moving over to you, Jen, what kind of support can students see at UTM? And if possible, speak on residents and non-residents availability.
Yeah, so I mean, on campus, there's always someone available for support, depending on what you need support for. But there's different student affairs organizations, whether it's the ROC or the HCC or the CSC, the IC, or residents ourselves. There's always someone who's able to like support you through whatever transition or whatever support or whatever thing that you need. Specifically on residents, we have, like I mentioned in my presentation, we have 24/7, 365 staff members who are always available and around. So it doesn't matter what time of the hour it is, there is someone available. And also I should mention Campus Plates are also a great resource as well, and they work with us heavily. But specifically, I do want to talk about our student staff because they're so knowledgeable and so great, and love connecting with students. So we have specifically several touch points with our students and residents. Our student staff are required to have one-on-ones with each student they have, and they can chat about literally anything that you want to talk about. And that's why we kind of call our Dons your first friend in residence, because they really are there to like make sure that you have a connection, make sure that you have a friend. And what's great about them is that they're so knowledgeable about our campus and residence life and all the programs that we offer, and can guide you to some of the things that might interest you. So for example, like if you do love to sing, and you were talking about it with your Don, they might suggest you check out like the residence choir, for example. We really do focus on fostering a community in residence and ensuring that every student comes out with a friend. Even in the pandemic, like we talked about this in the presentation, but Isabella's video about her experience in residence was through the pandemic, and she talks about how living with her peers was super worth it just to keep her connected.
Thank you. And passing it over to you, Father, I know that UTM takes a lot of pride in knowing that there's a lot of resources available to students to help with their mental well-being, the physical, the emotional. What type of resources can we also direct them towards learning about that we wish that we would have learned about much earlier in our first year of university, but we only found about it later. So what would you like to share as well?
Yeah, definitely. I want to first emphasize that the University of Toronto Mississauga campus values all types of learners. So we do have accessibility advisors willing to work with our who work with our students for free at no cost to find out the type of accommodations that you may need. If you want to take a little bit more time to finish your assignments, they're there to make sure that that's possible without you receiving any type of academic penalty. And this just reinforces the fact that we value all types of learners, as I said. I do recommend that if you're worried about that, or if you require any type of accommodations, meet up with an an accessibility advisor through Accessibility Services. We also have learning strategists. Learning strategists are folks who are there to teach us how to study at a university level, which is completely different. Before now, we were never at a university, right? High school is completely different than university. The type of studying that you need at a university level will be different. They will teach you time management skills, how to prepare for upcoming exams and assignments. Take advantage of that. It is part of your tuition. These learning strategists, they're there to guide you. We want each and every one of the students that we admit to the campus to graduate successfully. That is one of those things that a few folks, while working at the registrar's office, they told me they had never even known that they existed. So I make sure to advise all incoming students to be aware of academic advisors, learning strategists, accessibility advisors. These folks are there to guide you, to make sure that you have the resources available to you to be as successful as possible in order for you to graduate at the end of the day. Yeah.
Thank you. So I understand that we're getting close to time. So I just have two quick questions that I'd love to ask. The first one is for Emily. So I know at the beginning of your presentation, you had mentioned that you actually started going to professor office hours. Do you mind explaining what that is for folks who aren't really familiar with that terminology?
Yes. So professors' office hours, every professor is required to have office hours for their courses, and that's outside of lecture time, and it's a place where you can go and you could ask questions with a concept you're not understanding in class. For example, that's like one way a lot of people use them. But if you go, you can also sometimes find out more about a professor's research or other opportunities that are available with them. So it's a great way to start making connections with professors, as well as getting help with anything you're not understanding.
Thank you. And the last question I have is for everybody. Can you name something that you absolutely really love, or you've heard so much about from the UTM campus that truly makes it unique? So I can go first. I think mine is definitely the nature areas. Such a beautifully situated campus that there's so many different walking trails. There's a little mini waterfall. Like, there's so much nature that really people can just get the opportunity to really explore the outside as well as the inside. I can pass it over to you, Jen.
Yeah, I agree. I actually think that being in like campus is so beautiful, and it's got lovely nature. But one of the things I actually love about campus also is that when you enter campus, you know that you're in the university. It's a very distinct campus feel, and it kind of feels like a little haven, separate from the hustle and bustle of the city. But yet it's so close to the city that if you want to take the shuttle free of charge for UTM students to head downtown, it's super easy and super convenient for you.
How about you, Emily?
Yeah, so for me, it's just probably like the different food options available. Coming from a small town, it's growing, so we're getting more food options, but there was so many things on campus that I hadn't tried. I'd never had a burrito, never had sushi, and that's just the start of it. I'd really never even had Starbucks, which is like everybody's favorite drink. So just starting to get to try different new foods and then continuing to learn about different like cultures is definitely something I love about the UTM campus.
And how about you, Father?
Yeah, I would definitely say that, first of all, U of T is a huge university, but at UTM, we have that small campus vibe. You have the opportunity, as Emily mentioned, where you can go to your office hours and have one-on-one meetings with your professors and your TAs. And these are exceptional folks. When I say that, some of them have published multiple articles and books on the type of research that they're doing. Some of the courses that you're taking, the books that you'll be reading for your courses were written and published by your faculty member. And you have that time where you can sit one-on-one with them. If you take advantage of the research opportunities, you can possibly, and I have seen that in my past work experience at U of T, where undergraduate students were actually able to publish papers with their faculty members and their TAs. So if you have that opportunity to meet with these faculty members and really, take the time to immerse yourself in their research, learn and take advantage of the available resources to you, that's great. And that's one thing I love about UT, the fact that you have that one-on-one connection with your TAs, that one-on-one connection with your professors. Even though it's a huge campus, it still has that, homey vibe that you won't get anywhere else.
Thank you. I think we've all covered so many different topics. And I also love how everyone has a different thing about campus that they absolutely love. So it goes to show there's definitely something for everybody. If we weren't able to answer any of your questions that you guys had asked in the chat today, not to fret, you can definitely come and reach out to our office. I'll get one of my colleagues to leave the contact info in the chat box. Or if you would like to attend any of our future events, which I highly recommend you do, we have a lot coming up this season. So definitely make sure you keep an eye out for your emails because that's where you'll find out about everything. Passing it over to you, Father.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, first of all, Alicia, Emily, and Jen for helping facilitate this conversation. Really appreciate it. I also want to give a special thank you to all of our newly admitted students and applicants who took the time to meet with us today. I know some of you still are in high school and still taking courses, so we really appreciate that. Please note, as Alicia mentioned, that you can definitely reach us. We are available Monday to Friday. Our information is written below. You can call us at 905-828-5400 or by email at any time, and you will have an admission representative available to you at any of those times listed, 9 to 4 p.m. We know that COVID is available. You can't just walk onto campus and speak with one of us in person. So this is one of the reasons why we are one of the few universities who have left who left that connection available still. And with that being said, also we have a lot of upcoming events. We have Mapping Your Education events. We have program profiles upcoming. So please check out our social media account. We do thank you so much today, and we hope to see you again. If you want to join us, we will be having more events for the rest of the week, more virtual tours the rest of the week, as well as all the upcoming events that you can check out on our social media. Thank you, and I hope you guys have an amazing day, and we hope to see you in the following semester, hopefully in the fall.